The air catches, thick and silent as dust motes dancing in a shaft of late afternoon sun. It hangs there, heavy with expectation, smelling faintly of lilies and the nervous heat of too many bodies pressed into a garden tent. My husband, standing inches away, his hand still warm on mine, freezes mid-sentence. His smile, moments ago radiating practice charm for the assembled guests, cracks. He doesn't look at me. His eyes, wide and sudden with pure terror, fix on the entrance of the tent. The string quartet, mid-baroque flourish, falters, then dies. A collective intake of breath sweeps through the crowd, a hush that feels louder than any noise. My gaze follows his, drawn by the sudden, sharp panic emanating from him. And then I see her. She stands silhouetted against the bright green of the lawn outside, framed by the fabric doorway. Her hair is pulled back, severe and elegant. Her dress, a deep emerald, seems to drink the light. She holds herself perfectly still, radiating an unnatural calm that is far more menacing than any outburst. She is a stranger here, an anomaly in this scene of carefully curated celebration. Yet, her presence obliterates everything. The lilies wilt, the sunlight dims, the nervous heat turns icy. All the careful performance of the last few months collapses in this single, impossible moment. My husband makes a small sound, a choked gasp that is barely audible but screams volumes. His hand tightens on mine, a grip of sheer, desperate fear. I don't move. I can't. The world has narrowed to the three of us, me, him, and the woman standing there, watching us, watching him. And in her eyes, I see it. The slow burn of recognition, then confusion, then a dawning horror that mirrors his own, but laced with a colder, sharper edge. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not like this. Not ever. The silence stretches, brittle and suffocating. It's the silence of a breaking point, the pause before the glass shatters, the dam bursts, the carefully constructed lie is laid bare for the world to see. And I, standing at the epicenter of this implosion, feel a strange, detached calm wash over me. The panic is his. The horror is hers. For me, it's just the end. The long, slow death of a marriage finally reaching its inevitable conclusion, playing out in the most public, devastating way imaginable. This moment, right now, it feels like falling, like the ground has vanished and I'm tumbling through space, but in slow motion, with perfect clarity. The air is still, but inside me, a hurricane is building. A storm I've been watching on the horizon for months, maybe years, is finally breaking directly overhead. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps me more than you know. Before this moment, before the silence descended and the woman in green appeared like a vengeful spirit, there was us. Our life. It felt solid, built on years of shared ambition, late nights, early mornings. We built something together, brick by brick. Not just a marriage, but a business. An empire, we used to joke, fueled by caffeine and a relentless belief in ourselves. He was my partner in everything. In life, in love, in business. He had this energy, this magnetic pull. He could charm anyone, talk his way into any room. I was the planner, the strategist, the one who built the frameworks, who understood the numbers, who made the vision a reality. We were the perfect team, a golden couple in the eyes of our friends, our colleagues, our competitors. We complemented each other so completely it felt like destiny, like two halves of a whole, forging something stronger together than we could ever be apart. Our business, a tech startup that had defied all expectations and blossomed into a major player, was our shared child. We nurtured it, worried over it, celebrated its milestones with the same fierce pride parents feel for their children. Our lives were intertwined, woven together so tightly that sometimes I wondered where I ended and he began, or where the marriage ended and the business began. It was all one glorious, messy, exhilarating thing. We lived in a beautiful home, the kind with large windows that let in too much light and a garden that always needed more attention than we could give it. We had friends, dinner parties, weekend trips. The hum of our lives was a constant, comforting sound. The clatter of plates, the murmur of conversation, the soft click of keyboards late into the night. We were busy, yes, relentlessly busy, but it was our busy. Our life. Our future unfolding exactly as we planned. That was the picture. The one we presented. The one I believed in with every fiber of my being. I loved him. Deeply, completely. He was my anchor, my confidant, the person I wanted to share every triumph and every setback with. Our 10-year anniversary was approaching, a milestone we both agreed deserved a special celebration. A renewal of our vows, a public declaration that after a decade of building, growing, and facing challenges together, we were still standing, still in love, still committed. It felt right. A moment to pause, to appreciate how far we'd come, and to look forward to the next chapter. We planned it together, choosing the venue, the flowers, the music. It was another project, yes, but one infused with love, a reaffirmation of the foundation our whole life was built upon. He was traveling more frequently for the business, opening new markets, securing deals. It was necessary, part of the growth. I handled things back home, kept the engine running, managed the teams. We talked every day, sometimes multiple times. Quick calls, texts filled with emojis and inside jokes, late-night video chats where we'd brief each other on our days, sharing the victories and venting about the frustrations. It felt normal. The price of success. A temporary distance for a long-term gain. The first crack was so small, so subtle I almost missed it. A shift in his tone on the phone. A fraction of a second too long to reply to a text. A new phone case he couldn't quite explain where he got it. Little things. Insignificant on their own. But they started to accumulate, like grains of sand forming a dune.
He was more tired, he said.
The travel was taking its toll. Of course, I understood. Building an empire was exhausting. I tried to be supportive, to ease his burden when he was home. But there was a new distance in his eyes, a space I couldn't seem to bridge. He was physically present, but his mind felt miles away. Sometimes, in the quiet moments, I'd look at him, really look at him, and feel a pang of something I couldn't name.
Unease?
Suspicion? Or just the loneliness that creeps in when the person you built your life with starts to feel like a stranger. He started keeping his phone closer, locking it with a new code. Little habits that screamed something to hide when I asked, gently, about his day. The answers were vague, rehearsed. The easy flow of our conversation, the one that had been the soundtrack to our lives, started to stutter, to feel forced. The comfortable silence became an awkward void. My mind, the one built for strategy and analysis, started to work overtime. I told myself I was being paranoid. The stress of planning the vow renewal, the pressure of the business, the fatigue of holding down the fort, it was getting to me. He was just busy, just stressed, just him. Changing slightly, perhaps, as people do over a decade. But the feeling persisted. A cold knot in my stomach that tightened whenever his phone chimed late at night, whenever he took a call in another room, whenever he mentioned a business contact with a little too much emphasis on their importance, or a little too little detail about who they were. The shift became undeniable. It wasn't just tiredness anymore. It was an energy directed elsewhere. He was still charming, still smooth, but the charm felt external, like a performance for the world, not something shared intimately with me. He'd talk about upcoming trips with a forced casualness, mentioning names of cities and hotels with a careful lack of detail. He started dressing differently, wearing new colognes I didn't recognize. He looked younger almost, like he was trying to recapture something. And I had a terrible, sinking feeling that whatever he was trying to recapture, he wasn't looking for it with me. I found the first piece of concrete evidence by accident. A hotel bill left carelessly in a suit pocket. It wasn't the hotel he'd told me he was staying at. Same city, different hotel. A much nicer one. One with a spa and a rooftop bar. A place you'd go for a romantic getaway, not a standard business trip. My hands shook as I held the crisp paper, the corporate logo mocking me. It wasn't proof of infidelity, not yet. But it was proof of a lie. And once you know someone you trust implicitly is lying to you about small things, the door is open to the terrifying possibility they're lying about everything. I didn't confront him with the bill. Not directly. I wasn't ready. The instinct to protect the life we'd built, to preserve the image, to avoid shattering the fragile peace we still maintained, was too strong. Instead, I became a detective in my own home. I checked browser histories, cross-referenced flight details with hotel bookings, noticed the pattern of calls and texts to numbers I didn't recognize. My strategic mind, honed over years of competitive business, turned its focus inward, dissecting the minutiae of his life, searching for the truth I desperately didn't want to find. It was like watching a slow-motion train wreck. Every discovery was a blow, a confirmation of my worst fears. The late-night texts, the hushed calls, the fabricated meetings, the increasingly elaborate lies to cover his tracks. It wasn't just a brief lapse, it was a pattern of calculated deception. He was leading a double life, and I, his wife, his partner, the woman who slept beside him every night, was completely outside of it. Or worse, I was an obstacle to be managed, a figure in the background of his new, more exciting narrative. And then I found her. Not by name at first, but by presence. A recurring number, frequent messages, coded language. Phrases like counting the days or can't wait to see you, the affectionate tone was unmistakable. It wasn't business. It was deeply personal. It was intimate. It was everything he wasn't sharing with me. The pain was a physical thing. It settled in my chest, a constant, dull ache that flared into sharp, searing agony with each new piece of evidence. Eating became a chore. Sleeping was impossible. My mind replaying conversations, searching for hidden meanings, for the signs I'd missed. I walked through my days in a fog, performing the role of the happy wife, the capable business partner, while inside, my world was crumbling. The foundation I thought was solid was dissolving into dust. The business suffered. My focus was fractured. I made mistakes, small ones at first, then larger ones. Missed deadlines, overlooked details, a lack of the sharp intuition that had been my hallmark. My colleagues noticed. My husband noticed. He'd ask if I was okay, his voice tinged with what sounded like concern, but felt like impatience. The irony was a bitter pill. He was destroying my ability to function, and then questioning why I was failing. The idea of the vow renewal, which had once filled me with warmth and anticipation, now felt like a cruel joke, a performance of a marriage that was already dead. How could I stand there, look into his eyes, and repeat vows that he was so clearly breaking? It felt like sacrilege. It felt like a lie I would be complicit in. But the thought of canceling felt equally impossible. The explanations, the questions, the public failure. It would be admitting defeat, airing our dirty laundry, and potentially damaging the business we were both still tied to. I was trapped between a crumbling marriage and the fear of detonating everything. One night, exhausted and heartbroken, I finally found a name, tucked away in a deleted email folder he'd forgotten to clear. Her full name, and with it a picture. She was beautiful, young, vibrant. Everything I felt I wasn't anymore. And reading their messages, seeing the easy intimacy, the laughter, the shared future they were planning, it broke something inside me. It wasn't just about sex. It was about connection. He was building a new life with her, piece by piece. In the stolen moments between his business trips, he wasn't just cheating on me. He was replacing me. The message that sealed it, the one that shifted me from heartbroken wife to something colder, something harder, was almost buried. It was a casual reference in an email to her, confirming logistics for a meeting. He mentioned me in passing, explaining why I wouldn't be joining him on a specific trip, despite it being relevant to my area of the business. His words, written in plain text, burned themselves into my brain. Don't worry about my name. She's just a business partner in this part of the deal. Focus on us. Just a business partner. 10 years. Building a life. Building a business. Supporting him. loving him, sacrificing for us. All reduced to just a business partner. It wasn't just a lie to her. It was a complete dismissal of who I was, of what we were. It erased our marriage, our partnership, my identity as his wife. It positioned me as a colleague, a peer, someone external to the emotional core of his life. Someone easily compartmentalized. Someone who didn't matter in the way she did. The words echoed in my mind, a constant, stinging refrain. Just a business partner. They stripped away my love, my commitment, my pain, and replaced it with nothing. I was a function, a title, an obstacle. In that moment, sitting alone in the dark office, the soft glow of the computer screen illuminating the wreckage of my life, something inside me snapped. The pain was still there, a raw, gaping wound, but it was joined by something new. A cold, clear fury. A determination born of utter betrayal. I wasn't just a business partner. I was his wife. His estranged, unknowingly betrayed, but legally still his wife. And I was the co-founder of this company. I knew its bones, its veins, its heart. I knew every secret, every vulnerability. I wasn't just a partner in this deal. I was the architect of the whole damn structure. He saw me as an inconvenience. As someone easily managed, easily lied to, easily pushed aside. He was so consumed by his new life, his exciting new relationship built on deception, that he had become careless. Arrogant. He underestimated me. He forgot who I was when I wasn't just the supportive wife, when I was backed into a corner. The vow renewal was looming. The invitations were sent. The deposits paid. The narrative of our perfect, enduring marriage was set to be performed before everyone who mattered. And he was going to stand there, look into my eyes, and lie again, while planning his future with someone else. Just a business partner. The words became a mantra. A weapon. I wouldn't cancel the vow renewal. I wouldn't slink away quietly, nursing my wounds in private. He wanted a performance? I would give him one. But it wouldn't be the one he expected. The anger solidified into resolve. The pain hardened into a shield. I stopped being the heartbroken wife and started being the strategist again. But this time, the game wasn't about building a company. It was about dismantling a lie and securing my future in the wreckage. I had leverage. The business was our shared asset, but I was the one with the intimate knowledge of its operations, its finances, its legal structure. I knew where the bodies were buried, metaphorically speaking. I knew the pressure points. And I had proof of his deception. Not just the affair, but the specific, dismissive lie about me. That lie was key. It wasn't just personal. It undermined my standing, my identity, everything we had presented to the world. The vow renewal became the stage. It had to be public. His betrayal wasn't a quiet, private matter. It impacted our shared public life, our business reputation, the trust people had in us as a unit. The exposure needed to be equally public, equally devastating. I started making calls. Quiet ones. Discreet ones. To lawyers specializing in complex marital and business separations. To key people in the company whose loyalty I knew I could trust, or whose professional ethics I knew would recoil from his actions. I began meticulously gathering every shred of evidence. Emails, texts, hotel bills, even voice recordings of hushed conversations I'd managed to capture. I built my case, piece by piece, with the same ruthless efficiency I used to approach a hostile takeover. The plan formed, cold and precise. It wasn't about revenge, not entirely. It was about survival, about reclaiming my identity, my dignity, and my future from the ruins he had created. And yes, there was a deep, satisfying current of cold justice running through it. He had used the facade of our marriage and our business partnership to build his deception. I would use that same facade to expose him and take what was rightfully mine. I reached out to her. The other woman. It was a risk. A calculated risk. I didn't confront her with accusations. Not at first. I presented myself as concerned, confused. I asked questions that subtly led her to reveal the extent of their relationship, the promises he had made her. I learned about his lies to her, The way he portrayed me as a cold, distant business partner, someone he was drifting away from, someone who wouldn't care if he found happiness elsewhere. He had built his new relationship on a foundation of lies about me. And then, carefully, I shared just enough truth to plant seeds of doubt. A casual mention of the Vow Renewal invitations. A reference to a shared history that contradicted his narrative. I didn't reveal everything. Just enough to make her question him. To make her wonder what else he was lying about. To make her see the cracks in the story he'd sold her. My intuition, sharp again now that its focus was singular, told me she wasn't malicious. Naive, perhaps.
Deceived, certainly.
She believed his story. She saw me as the cardboard cutout he described. I didn't want her to be the victim of his downfall, not entirely. But she was an integral part of the lie, and therefore, she had to be part of the exposure. And perhaps, just perhaps, she could be an unwitting instrument in his undoing. The date of the vow renewal loomed closer. The tension in the house was a palpable thing, a silent scream trapped between us. He seemed oblivious, or perhaps willfully ignorant, basking in the glow of his secret life, the successful businessman about to publicly reaffirm his perfect marriage. He even seemed happier, lighter. The thought made me sick. He was thriving on the very deception that was killing me. I played my part. I attended dress fittings, finalized seating charts, reviewed menus. Every smile I offered, every touch I allowed, every conversation we had felt like a betrayal of myself. But the mask was necessary. He couldn't suspect. Not until the very last moment. I finalized the legal strategy with my lawyers. The evidence was overwhelming. The documentation of his financial maneuvering, tied to the business, combined with the proof of his marital misconduct, gave me a powerful position. The plan wasn't just to expose him emotionally, it was to dismantle our shared financial and professional life in a way that protected me and leveraged his dishonesty. The public humiliation would weaken his position in the business significantly, giving me the upper hand in negotiating a settlement that secured my control and assets. It wasn't just vengeance, it was a strategic maneuver. Winning bigger wasn't just about his downfall, it was about my rise from the ashes. The vow renewal wasn't just a personal event. Many of our business associates were invited. Our public image was tied to the company's image. His lie wasn't just whispered in private, it affected the perception of the partnership at the heart of the business. Exposing him here, in front of everyone who believed in the carefully constructed narrative of our perfect union, was the only way to truly dismantle the lie and protect my reputation and my future stake in the company from the fallout of his actions. I decided to invite her, the other woman, officially. An anonymous email, crafted to look like a well-meaning friend, suggesting she really needed to see something important happening at the vow renewal. Providing the date, the time, the location. Planting the seed of doubt I'd already nurtured. Giving her the opportunity to see the truth for herself. To see the man who had lied to her, standing there, pledging eternal love to his wife. My hope, my calculation, was that her presence, her shock, her reaction would be the catalyst. The visual proof that couldn't be denied. The day of the vow renewal dawned bright and clear, mocking the storm brewing inside me. Getting ready felt surreal. Putting on the dress, doing my hair and makeup, all the rituals of a celebration that was, for me, an execution. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. The emotional storm had passed, leaving behind a vast, cold calm. He seemed relaxed, happy. He complimented my dress, held my hand, talked about how much this day meant to him. Every word was a fresh layer of paint on the crumbling facade. I smiled, I nodded, I played my part. The mask was perfect. Impenetrable. The garden was beautiful. The flowers were exactly as we'd chosen. The music was soft, elegant. Our friends and family arrived, their faces smiling, full of warmth and genuine affection for us. It was a scene of pure, unadulterated happiness. A potent contrast to the truth hidden beneath the surface. We walked down the aisle together, arm in arm, a picture of unity. The air was filled with love and anticipation. We stood before the officiant, ready to speak the words that would bind us for another decade. Or perhaps the words that would mark the end. He began his vows, speaking of love, commitment, a shared future. His voice was steady, confident. He looked at me, his eyes filled with an emotion I couldn't decipher through the mask he wore. Was it guilt? Fear? Or just the practiced art of deception? And then the music stopped. The air caught. The silence descended. And she walked in. The woman in the emerald dress, standing at the entrance, a figure from a different reality crashing into this carefully constructed scene. His grip on my hand tightens, his knuckles white. His face drains of color, turning a sickly, ashen gray. The confident mask shatters, revealing the raw, naked terror beneath. He knows. He knows she's here. He knows this is the moment. Her eyes sweep the scene, taking in the flowers, the guests, the two of us standing there, ready to renew our vows. Confusion flickers across her face, quickly replaced by understanding. A terrible, dawning understanding. She sees the dress, the setting, his face. She sees us. And the pieces of his lies, the carefully constructed narrative he sold her, click into place with brutal clarity. Her gaze settles on him, and her expression hardens into something I recognize instantly, the cold shock of betrayal. She was lied to just as I was. Perhaps even more completely. She believed his story, the one where I was just a footnote and soon-to-be ex-partner. The silence is deafening. Every eye in the tent is now on her, then on him, then on me, back and forth, trying to understand the connection, the source of the sudden, gut-wrenching tension. Murmurs ripple through the crowd, whispers like dry leaves skittering across pavement. My husband is a statue of fear.
Paralyzed.
Utterly blindsided. He never imagined this. He planned for everything, covered every track, except for the possibility that the two women in his life might somehow converge. Or that I might orchestrate it. He opens his mouth, a silent O of disbelief. He tries to speak, but no sound comes out. His eyes dart between me and her, pleading, terrified. This is my moment. The moment I planned for, sacrificed for, endured months of silent agony for. I look at him. His face, usually so smooth, so confident, is a mess of panic and guilt. He stands there, exposed, diminished. The empire builder, the charming husband, reduced to a pathetic, trembling man caught in a lie. I turn my head slightly, my gaze meeting hers across the stunned crowd. For a fraction of a second, there is a connection. A shared understanding of the man who stood between us, who used us both for his own purposes. Her eyes hold a question, a plea for understanding. Mine hold a cold, steady resolve. I didn't invite her here to hurt her. I invited her to witness the truth. To see the man she thought she knew revealed for who he really is. I take a slow, deep breath, filling my lungs with the scented, tense air. My voice, when I speak, is calm, clear, and resonates through the silence. It doesn't waver. It doesn't break. Everyone, I say, my voice cutting through the stunned hush, addressing not just my husband or her, but every single person gathered here. Thank you all for coming today, to witness the renewal of our vows. My husband flinches at the word, his eyes snap to mine, bewildered. We wanted to reaffirm our commitment. I continue, my gaze holding his, then sweeping across the faces in the crowd. Our commitment to each other and to the life we've built. A life built on trust, on honesty, on being partners. In every sense of the word. I pause, letting the word partners hang in the air. He shifts uneasily beside me. Building a business together, building a marriage together, I say, my voice gaining a quiet intensity. It requires immense effort, constant communication, absolute faith that the person standing beside you is exactly who they say they are. I look directly at him now. His face is pale, his lips parted in disbelief. It requires knowing that when they travel for business, I continue, my voice measured, each word landing like a small, sharp stone. They are truly there for business. That the people they meet are indeed colleagues. Not, I trail off, glancing towards the woman in green. Something else. A collective gasp ripples through the crowd. People are starting to understand. The beautiful scene is dissolving, revealing the ugliness beneath. My husband finally finds his voice, a strained whisper. My name, he says, his hand squeezing mine painfully. What are you doing? I ignore him. I turn my focus back to the assembled guests, my expression calm, almost serene. It has come to my attention, I state, my voice clear and formal, as if addressing a boardroom, that certain representations have been made about the nature of our partnership, about my role in his life, in this life. I look back at him, my eyes locking onto his frantic ones. He has told certain people, I say, enunciating each syllable with deliberate precision, that I am just a business partner, that our relationship is merely professional, that I am someone to be managed, someone who doesn't factor into the important, personal aspects of his life. His breath hisses out. He shakes his head, a desperate, silent denial. He looks at her, then back at me. The panic is overwhelming him. This vow renewal, I say, my voice rising slightly, carrying across the tent, was meant to be a reaffirmation. A statement to the world about who we are, together. But you can't reaffirm a lie. I turn fully to face him, and with quiet strength, I release his hand. The physical separation is small, but the emotional chasm that opens between us is vast. You called me just a business partner, I say, my voice now cold, stripped of all emotion. You diminished our marriage, our history, my identity, to justify your deception. You lied to her. I nod towards the woman in green, who is now visibly trembling, her face a mask of shock and distress. You lied to our friends. You lied to our family. And you lied to me. He stares at me, his mouth moving silently. He looks utterly broken. The carefully constructed facade he lived behind for so long has been ripped away in seconds. I am not just a business partner, I declare, my voice ringing with authority now. I am the woman who stood by you, who built this business with you, who loved you when you clearly stopped loving me. And I am the woman who will now dismantle the lies you've built your life upon. I gesture towards the woman in green. She deserves the truth. Our guests deserve the truth. And I deserve to stand here, not as the deceived wife you tried to hide, but as the woman who sees you, for exactly who you are. My husband lets out a strangled cry, a sound of pure, unadulterated collapse. His knees buckle, and he slumps forward, hands reaching out blindly, as if to catch himself or maybe just reach for something solid in a world that is spinning out of control. Two of our friends rush forward to catch him before he hits the ground. He doesn't collapse completely, but is left hunched over, supported by their arms, shaking uncontrollably. The tent erupts in chaos. Gasps, murmurs, startled cries. People are looking at him, at me, at the woman in green, whispers turning into louder exclamations. The carefully controlled scene has become a spectacle of raw, ugly truth. The woman in green is crying now, silent tears tracking paths through her makeup. She looks devastated, not just by the exposure of their relationship, but by the depth of his deceit. She was another victim, manipulated by his lies. I stand there, alone at the front, amidst the wreckage. I feel nothing, an eerie, detached calm. The storm I felt brewing inside is broken, but it hasn't devastated me. It has cleared the air. This was meant to be a celebration of commitment, I say, my voice quiet now, but still carrying. Instead, it is a declaration of independence. I look down at my wedding ring, the symbol of a decade of my life, and slowly, deliberately, I pull it off. It feels heavy, cold. I hold it in my palm for a moment, the gold catching the light. The marriage is over, I state, my voice steady. The partnership. That's a different matter. I look around at the assembled guests, many of whom are key players in our industry. As you all know, we built this company together. It was based on trust, integrity, and a shared vision. My gaze sweeps back to my husband, still supported, his face hidden. It seems one of those foundational principles was missing. I step forward, addressing the crowd more directly. As co-founder, and with recent discoveries regarding the handling of company resources and client relationships, discoveries tied directly to the deceptions revealed here today, I will be taking immediate steps to ensure the stability and ethical operations of the business. Legal proceedings regarding the dissolution of our personal and professional partnership are already underway. My words are clinical, precise. They hit the gathered business associates like a shockwave. This wasn't just a domestic drama, it was a corporate crisis unfolding in real time. This was the bigger win. I wasn't just exposing his affair. I was using it, and the evidence of his related misconduct, to seize control of the business. He might have called me just a business partner to his mistress, but I was demonstrating, unequivocally, that I was the real partner. The one who understood strategy, leverage, and control. The one who wouldn't let his personal failings destroy what we built. What I helped build. He had tried to sideline me, to erase me from the important parts of his life and his narrative. By calling me just a business partner, he revealed his contempt for my role, for my contribution. Now, I was taking that title and turning it into my greatest strength. I was the business partner, yes, the only trustworthy one left, and I was taking charge. He looked up then, his eyes finding mine, no longer panicked, but filled with a horrifying realization. He hadn't just lost his mistress, he was losing his wife, his reputation, and the company he thought he controlled. His plot twist wasn't my heartbreak, it was his complete, public, and costly downfall. He had blindsided me with his lies, but I had blindsided him with the truth and the strategic foresight to use it. Someone calls for a doctor. Others rush to help my husband, leading him, stumbling, away from the front. The woman in green stands frozen for a moment longer, then turns and hurries out of the tent, disappearing into the late afternoon sun. The guests are buzzing, a hive of shocked whispers and averted eyes. I stand alone at the front of the tent, the discarded ring still heavy in my hand. The beautiful flowers, the elegant setting, the carefully planned music, it all feels like a stage set after the final, dramatic act. The air, moments ago thick with dread, now feels sharp and clean, albeit filled with the awkward tension of the aftermath. The next few hours are a blur of damage control. My lawyers arrive, calm and professional amidst the chaos. They speak quietly with key individuals handing out business cards, assuring people that steps are being taken to ensure the company's stability. I speak with a few close friends, who look at me with a mixture of horror, pity, and admiration. I don't offer explanations, just quiet confirmations of the truth. There's nothing left to hide. Later, after the guests have awkwardly dispersed, after the caterers have packed up the uneaten food, after the flowers have begun to wilt, I am left standing alone in the silent tent. The sunlight has faded, casting long shadows across the empty space. The air smells only of dying lilies now. I look at the spot where he stood, where he collapsed. It feels unreal, like a scene from a film I watched, not something I lived. The emotional storm has left a strange emptiness behind. A hollow ache that is different from the pain of betrayal. This is the ache of finality. The quiet hum of a life that is no longer connected, a future that has been erased and must now be rebuilt from scratch. The victory feels cold. Satisfying, yes, on a deep, primal level. Justice served. The liar exposed. My strength reaffirmed. But it is also tinged with a profound sadness. The death of a dream. The loss of a decade. The dismantling of a shared history, no matter how flawed it turned out to be. I walk out of the tent, leaving the wreckage behind. The garden is quiet, the sounds of the city distant. I look up at the sky, the first stars beginning to appear. It's over. The pretending, the hiding, the silent suffering. It's all over. The path ahead is uncertain. There will be legal battles, professional challenges, personal heartache. But I face it now with open eyes, unburdened by deception. I am not, just a business partner. I am the captain of my own ship, navigating the choppy waters he left in his wake. And I am stronger than I ever knew. The betrayal didn't break me. It forged me into something harder, something more resilient. The vow was broken, not by me, but by him. But in breaking it, he inadvertently gave me something else: freedom. Freedom from the lie, from the performance, from a marriage that was a gilded cage. He tried to diminish me, to write me out of his story. But he only empowered me to write my own ending. An ending where I stand tall, in control of my life, my future, and the business we built. The business I will now rebuild my way. Alone, but stronger. The woman in the emerald dress. I hope she finds peace. She was caught in his web, another casualty of his deceit. He didn't just lie to me. He lied to everyone who trusted him. This is the aftermath. The quiet after the storm. The slow, steady process of rebuilding. It's not easy. There are days when the anger flares, days when the sadness is overwhelming. But there are also moments of clarity, of unexpected lightness. The simple relief of living in truth, no matter how messy that truth is. I learned that the most dangerous lies are the ones we tell ourselves. The ones we believe to keep the peace, to maintain the illusion of a perfect life. And I learned that strength isn't always loud and dramatic. Sometimes it's a quiet, relentless determination to stand in your truth, even when it means standing alone. He wanted to make me just a business partner. He succeeded. And in doing so, he gave me the power to treat our life like a business deal, one where I analyzed the assets, identified the liabilities, and executed a strategy to secure the most favorable outcome for myself. It's a cynical way to look at a marriage, perhaps. But then again, he was the one who first applied the language of business to our relationship, wasn't he? If this story hit close to home, I'd love to hear your version. Drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is. Thanks for being here. Subscribing helps bring more of these to life.